Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Small Business Show. My name is Swire, your host for the show. My guest today is Brittany Murphy from One Thing Marketing. Over the past 7 years, Brittany had created over 300 digital marketing strategy for clients locally and nationally. As the marketing director at One Thing Marketing, Brittany focuses on helping business owner getting the phone to ring with new leads through optimizing their website and online presence. You got to pay more attention to this show because through Brittany's strategy and the team at One Thing Marketing, they have helped local businesses increase their revenue by an average of 30% every year. Welcome to the show, Brittany.
Thanks for having me, Swire. I'm excited to be here.
Those are great numbers there. For those of us who are not yet be familiar with your work and One Thing Marketing, what should we know about you?
So really how we get those numbers for our clients is we love to be digital experts. So we primarily focus on website design and search engine optimization. So I am kind of that main person you get to talk to. So we are very competitive and we love strategy. So I think that's kind of what sets us apart. And we've actually started to niche down more to the trades. So anyone in the
Okay.
home service type of arenas, we really try to focus and hone in their marketing just because we really felt that there were underserved market with it. So I think it's probably the biggest things I like to say about us because everyone's already met someone in an agency. So I feel like that's kind of the biggest things that set us apart from somebody else.
Hmm, that's interesting. So let's start with a bigger perspective, right? Building an online presence. And it seems like nowadays, every month I have to take another course and learn about something new. You know, do you think people are overly stretched, or do you think, in your opinion, that when small business, especially local small businesses, when they do marketing, they should focus on a platform that works for them?
That's 100%. And I really feel like that's why most people feel stretched too thin is because they're trying too many multiple things. And it's kind of in a sense, if you have a gallon of water and you have a few cups in front of you, what would be better to have very little portions in these 10 cups or to fill a little bit more fully? So that way you're putting all of your effort and all of your consistency into them. I do kind of see that's mostly the biggest part about it. And so when it comes to social media, we actually don't do any of that in house. So I refer out to a lot of different companies to do social media because a lot of my clients will end up taking that in house just because they feel that they can have a better narrative and they can kind of make sure their voice is heard on social platforms, which is great. But even when I know my clients are going to put a lot of time and effort into those platforms, I really tell them to test and then to hone in on the areas that are going to give them the most bang for their buck. Because you're right, there is so many little things we could do a day. And I'm sure what you're getting, like what I get, tons of new emails with new ideas or new concepts. And now you're just really excited and you're like, well, this worked for them. It could work for me and I want to try it. But you might not have thought the whole process through of, is this where my target demographic is going to be? So not saying it's not, but I feel a lot of us jump into those things because we've seen great success stories with them. And it's good to try those things, but we're not always tracking our time and making sure that consistency is there. So at the end of the day, we can make sure if we spend 20 hours a month on marketing internally, where did I spend that time? Did it give me the return on investment it should? And just kind of which one should I be sticking my time with? And kind of like you mentioned, Swire, when it comes to SEO, there's so much to learn and do. So it is very hard for a small business to take that on solely by themselves without, help or guidance at least.
I think you touch on a few good points here, and I want to ask you one by one. First is, how would you guide one through finding the target audience or target market per se?
Yeah, that's a great question. And all my clients, they really have a different way they get to it. But kind of in a sense that, the easiest conversation I go about with it is if you can kind of look at your last 10 to 20 clients, what do they look like? So for our home service guys, we help a lot of times we're noticing that it's going to be a middle-aged wife. Usually the wife or the female figure of the house is more the one that will be home during the servicing. And so a lot of times they might actually be the one looking to find that product or that service to come to their home to fix whatever problem they may need be. So we kind of see as far as who's searching, that's kind of really the end target you'll kind of go with. Outside of that, I just really just have conversations with them. So I think a lot of us don't do a good job of asking a little bit more about the clientele of when they're calling, or we don't save those notes. So we're not really saving addresses. So we're not even looking to see, is there a certain zip code you're getting a lot of clients from? And especially for local businesses, that's a huge concept because especially when it comes to anything digital marketing, you might be showing up better in one area than another. And so that might help as well kind of decide if you're doing well in those markets. And also are those jobs in those areas what you want? So not just the person you're looking for, but the type of job that you're looking to get into. People need to make sure they're comparing both sides of that to make sure they have the ideal avatar or, whatever kind of brand story you're looking to create. Those things really do kind of come into place, because even if I said for home services, it is a middle-aged female is the most common target. Well, maybe that middle-aged female lives in a certain area or is looking for certain types of products or services. Like, you can hone that in more. It just depends on how much you really want to dig, but it's looking at all the past experiences of who you have, and then also looking at your products and services to figure out who do you want to work with. I think it's a big thing we don't ask ourselves too much, because we all want business. And I'm sure, you want more business, you want to sell more products. But I think at the end of the day, we need to figure out as well, who's the best to work with? Because, Swire, you probably know there's clients who do great things. They get exactly what you need back to them to get your products made on time. There's probably ones that don't. So I think that's another concept that someone taught me early on, was looking at your past client list, see how you got them via what means, and then which clients you'd actually want to work with again, because there are clients that we do not want to take again. So how did they come in? How did they find us? That'll give you more information about maybe how that client searches, how they do their research. And maybe it's just someone who's going to ask way too many questions that's not going to be a good fit for your business, because you're emergency services. So you just need to do these things quickly, or you're just coming for a window cleaning, so all those things put together, I really feel like could kind of help define that true person of who you're looking for. And then making sure all the messaging on the website, emails, anything else appeals to them and matches their same type of vibe that they have.
I think you mentioned a really good point. It's something that I'm actually trying to work on right now. It's finding the client that I enjoy working with. If you find clients, all of them are you enjoy working with, interacting with, then you'll be a more happy person, right? If you get on calls, then you might not be so happy at the end of the day. Like, are those businesses that you want? Sometimes I think finding your target audience, not only for business, is only for you, the person or the business owner as well. Do you really like to deal with those type of demographic of client? Because give you an example, especially for trade, right? We all shop around, but then there are some that likes to want the best. I want the best stuff, latest stuff that you have, pay full price for it. Would you rather work with those people if you could satisfy the needs, or happy with getting 10 quotes and then you going out there 5 times and then you don't get the deal? Like, I would say most certainly we'll pick the one that will pay full price. And then, the question will be, where do they hang out and how do we find them?
Yeah. And I feel like all of us, not all of us are salespeople in our roles at our company, but I think one thing that always seems to be asked as well is, what is that client looking for? Like, is it going to be the best quality product, or is it going to be the best price product? And I think that we're afraid to ask our clients that, because we're probably not going to always like the answer, because it's always both. They want the best quality with the best price, as possible, but there usually might be a way people lean towards more. So for example, I know everyone I talk to is really leaning more towards price when they come down to anything marketing, which I understand, it's a lot of money you're going to spend on this, but usually who we end up working with are those who are looking for more quality. They already know they're going to have to spend a certain level of money. So now they're looking for the best place to spend that money with. So even kind of putting those things into perspective with it, it's always questions that you hate asking during a sales conversation, but I think it'll help gear more towards who's actually ending up buying with you. So that way, in the very intro calls or on your website or any marketing you do, you can start to ask these questions very early on. And now you'll kind of know where to maybe pinpoint these guys through the buying journey. Because if they're not going to be advantageous, people who are going to buy from you pretty quickly, then we're going to need more resources to make sure that, we're not wasting our time as salespeople just answering a million questions. We have all those things to kind of help pull from to help them make a best decision possible, and make a decision is the most important part, probably.
That's a really good point. And I also want to mention that I actually learned it from a customer service expert. She actually made the point, like, a lot of times for us in sales, we don't like to deal with a high maintenance client. But then her point of view actually changed my thinking of doing business. She actually said, if they're high maintenance, it's meaning that they have a lot of expectation. They will actually tell you what their expectations are. They want exactly the way that it is to their satisfaction. It would be a lot better if you talk to someone, I don't know what I want, show me what you have. High maintenance client can actually tell you what they want precisely. If you're able to meet that criteria, you can name your price and they will go with you because they're so high maintenance.
Yeah. And they feel like they're being heard. So I think that's probably an important part of it as well. They might feel high maintenance because they never had good communication beforehand too. So I'm sure there's always two sides to it, but I mean, that's a really good point, Swire, as far as making sure that you are giving that. So therefore you're still appeasing that person as well.
Yeah, I will always take customer who tell me exactly what they want versus, show me what you have. And when you say show me what you have, meaning that they might not yet figure out what they wanted to do, and they probably are gathering idea, and then they are probably talking to a whole bunch of competitors out there. So I kind of gaze that question more seriously now. Like, have they done their research, or are they just poking around, trying to, in sales term, to pick your brains, right?
Exactly.
So you also talk about tracking your marketing effort. For example, now we decided to spend some money. We decided to put some of our efforts on it. How should we track it so we know that the money that we spend are getting the result that we wanted?
Great question. So I always love when people ask me this because I know that they are a smart and savvy business person, because we need to track everything. I mean, your sales are tracked, how much product you're creating and marketing's tracked. So it really is important to make sure that everything marketing dollars you're spending is being tracked somehow. Some of the best ways to track anything, number one is call tracking. So if you are a business that is getting people to actually call you to ask questions about your products or services, you can call track anything and everything. So your website would have a special number. Your Google My Business listing would have a special number. If you run ads, if you do print, if you have a billboard, a commercial, radio ad, any of these things that you will actually have a phone number on can have a special call tracking number. So that way it just dings into your system. It goes directly to the same person who needs to be answering it. But this way, when you actually have call tracking, you can match back the phone numbers who called with the clients who actually converted and spent some type of money with you. And that way you can actually track what you spent versus how many phone calls came into it. So I really love call tracking. It's just the best way because majority of businesses, and especially, if we are inside the trades or contractors or home services, you're probably getting a lot of phone calls to ask a few questions. So this is a great way to track it. Outside of that, your website should be tracking every way else they come in. So like if you have Google Analytics tied to this, it should tell you people are coming in directly just by typing your name in. So if they're just looking for Swire and they type him in, it'll show direct visits to your website. If they're just typing in promotional products and they find your website Swire, well, then that's just organic search, which is great. If from social, it'll tell you if people coming from Facebook, Twitter, any of these different marketing methods. Analytics is the biggest thing when it kind of comes down to as well as far as tracking, because if you can actually put in these places to make sure you see where different clients are coming in for, well, again, that kind of comes back to the whole little cup analogy I said earlier. How many different places are you going to put your marketing efforts into? Are you going to spread yourself thinly over 10, or are you going to dive fully into just a few cups and make sure those are filled as full as possible? So what I love when we do actually track our marketing is we can see where people are coming in from. So if you just ran a huge Facebook campaign and did a lot of great posts, did some advertisements and videos, different things of that nature, well, then we should be able to see in real time from your Google Analytics how many people are coming from that Facebook ad back into your website to buy. So that's real-time tracking, just like the call tracking is. It's just basically just seeing where the traffic's going through. And also when you track well, you can see what's making them go away. So maybe we might see that Facebook ad's driving them in, but they're bouncing back really quickly. So they're not spending much time on the page. Well, that would tell me, even though I'm not the one creating your Facebook ad, hey, we're getting a lot of traffic in, but there's a lot of people going away from your website very quickly. Does the ad match what the landing page has on it? Is it a better offer we should have? Are there different things like this to make sure that whatever else you're doing marketing outside of the website is generating the best efficiency for that program marketing campaign you're running regardless? So those are kind of the two biggest ones that I would really recommend for everybody. And it's a lot of these places that you can look them up for are very inexpensive as well. So you could add call tracking to your website for under $100 a month. Google Analytics is free. I mean, all these things are really great places that either partner with a marketing person or try to find someone to help you add these to your website. So that way you can actually make sure whenever you do spend more money on marketing, you know exactly what's kind of coming in and bringing you the bang for your buck you should be looking for with any marketing campaign.
I really like the call tracking because I do my best effort to ask every new person that call, how did you find out about us? And if they're nice, they would say a Google search, and that will be it. There's no way really tell where they're coming from. Like you said, if you go to a trade show, billboard, or you pass out a postcard, for example, if you're a trade business, right? They
Yep.
like to leave postcard. Maybe there should be a different call number or to track it, so then which effort. Which money give you the most bang on your butt. So maybe if you like, you could increase the spending on those categories that are working for you.
Exactly, because trade shows might be one of the most expensive things you might go to for a very short period of time, but you think brings the most amount of leads possible. So yes, you actually want to track things you even think work really well. So for a quick example, I've had a client call before we did the whole strategy session, and I try to do my best job of asking, how'd you find out about us? Because I want to do the own market research for my own company. And their answer was, I saw you on a billboard. Now, Swire, we've never run a billboard ad, ever. So their answer was completely inaccurate. And not that I'm mad at them. They probably didn't remember. And that was just something they thought of to say because they wanted to answer the question and they just didn't want to say, I don't remember, which is fine. But what now, because they called through a call tracking number, I can say, oh, okay. Well, thank you for that. And I'm not trying to make them feel bad. So I would actually go back to the tracking system to see where they came in from. So now you have the exact truth of where they came from, but it always is good to ask. Because the one thing we can't always know 100% certain is the initial point in which they found you. So that could have been from a Google search, and then they went to Facebook and they found you, and then they came in through your website. So the initial interaction might not be 100% clear, but what actually got them to convert to call you is still a very important part of it. So even though that is the end data you're collected with, it is really good because there might be a lot of messaging we see. And it's, after 7 times, you finally make a conversion, you kind of do something. It's helpful to know what that last thing was as well. So even with that tracking with the website, you can see exactly which page they finally went to your contact page from. So maybe they read all about that one service and then went to the contact page and booked you. Now you know that service page was great on your website because it actually led to a lead to find it and convert. And now you're talking to them just based off something you did weeks or months or years ago on your website.
Well, I think it depends, right? Especially if we're talking about the trade business, for plumber, probably easier, right? It's less than 1,000 most of the time. I wanted to share my experience for changing my roof. So 3 years ago, my neighbor across the street changed the roof. So I think especially in marketing, I watched what they had done. I watched them work every day for a week, so I know that they know what they're doing. They also put a street sign, old school street sign with their name, phone number, and website. And what we end up doing is we didn't need to change it. The first year that we done, a year ago, we decided we want to do it. So we remember that phone number. I remember talking to the neighbors to see if they had good experience. And then I looked them up on their website to see their review, right? What people are saying about them. And then finally, we decided to call them, and ask for an estimate. So it could be a long process. And, what they have spent 3 years ago, now it works for me. And I subsequently seeing 5 or 6 neighbors around our block are using the same company. So I guess everyone is doing the same thing, and there are such a long cycle sometimes when you're in the home services and maybe rebuilding, doing the roof, that could take like 2 to 3 years sometime.
Yeah, and I mean, it might not just be, home services, yes. It could be a long selling cycle, although we do work with a lot of reactive businesses. So for example, if your roof is leaking, you would probably not have taken so much time to figure out who that roofing company was. So we're trying to get both perspectives of it. Those who need an immediate problem fixed. Your toilet is overflowing. You need a plumber come out immediately. You're probably going straight to Google, finding some things, vice versa. If you probably know you want to look into updating your bathroom, you're probably going to take your time and kind of do some different research that way. And so that's kind of where, like, when I'm talking to prospects or clients, the one thing I want them to understand the most is that there is a huge spectrum of personalities. And so therefore people will do different things to come to their end conclusion. So like what you did with the roofing company was you talked, so you got referral basically from your neighbors, you checked out their website, and you probably looked at their reviews. So these were different areas. Then reviews can be seen not just on their website, but on their Google My Business page, on Facebook, on Yelp. These are all places that people will look into to make a decision. So if it is a longer buying process because it's a bigger purchase, like a whole new roof, then yes, what I want to make sure every business owner knows of is it's not just the one perspective of this one channel you think you're getting people in from. There are so many things that they are checking out just to make sure that they're kind of doing an online background check of your company. And that's kind of what it is. And so you want to make sure you have information on all these different places to put a good face out for yourself. So that way, they're like, wow, the website looks great. Wow, they have great Google My Business reviews. And let's just say they go over to your Facebook, and let's just say the last post you did was maybe a rant about how an employee just didn't do a good job. Well, that's not a really good perception of something I want to see. And maybe I see the reviews on Facebook don't really match everything else. So now I'm kind of confused of, okay, well, maybe they did a better job with their website and generating more reviews there, but now I'm still seeing a different side of them over here. So that's where it really is important to have that consistent messaging and branding across all platforms, because we are looking enough places to make a decision based on how big of a purchase that is. So again, small tweaks just need a plumber pretty quickly. They're probably just going to call a few people, get someone in because it looks good reviews and they know they're a business and they have maybe reasonable pricing on the website. But again, those bigger purchases, they're really going to want to do some information, and we have all the info right at our fingertips. So that's kind of another huge tip I tell a lot of businesses. People are making decisions so quickly that if you choose to leave out information thinking that, well, if I say this, if I tell them about our past work, if I tell them about our pricing, if I tell them about our process or how long timelines will take, I'm scared they're not going to like that and they're not going to end up booking with me. Well, two sides. Yes, maybe one, it's just not what they're looking for, so they're not going to call you. Well, the pro with that is you just saved your time from someone who is not a good fit for how your process was going to work out, meaning they were not going to be a happy client most likely after signing up. The other part of it is if you actually find the information, well, then now they're more likely to reach out to you, because if all of your competitors have this info readily at their fingertips, they're going to feel more trust and authority with those companies because they already have some preconceived notions of what they should expect going into working with that business. However, if you choose not to list any of that, well, I might already have 3 clients or 3 businesses I could call right now. So I really don't need to talk to this fourth person who's not giving me all the information. Maybe it's feeling less upfront. It's feeling less trustworthy. So all those things really do come into account if you want to be put into that job bid. And my quick example is I'm trying to plan a wedding this year, and I've gone to so many different
Congratulations.
websites. If they don't list any information, projects, gallery pricing, it's so hard because I can see 10 other websites that do show me this. So I'm going to end up choosing the websites that give me more information because I'm going to feel more comfortable as a bride to be that, hey, I can see everything this person's about. This is going to make me more comfortable on that special day, knowing they're going to do everything they can to make sure it's the best experience possible. So I know we always feel like we're giving too much information out on our websites, but there's almost never such a thing as that, because your competitors are probably already doing it, and you can do it better and give better information, more information to build that trust with a visitor to your website or to any platform you're on a lot quicker.
I think it kind of goes back to what you mentioned in the beginning, who are your target audience, because if you try to get everyone, you end up getting probably nobody. But if you're a type of company that only do large order or large jobs, then you should say it on the website. So to your example, Brittany, for planning your wedding, there are different wedding planners venues out there. There are certain style I'm sure that you're going for, so, or a certain budget that you have in mind. So that that's not within what you're looking for, then those are not good fit. So you can actually pre-filter the right type of client to be calling you. Vice versa. If you are grassroots, if you're doing smaller jobs, there's no way that you wanted to target for those orders that you're not able to fulfill. So I think that it goes both ways, right? How do you present yourself to your potential client can save you a lot of headache, I would say, later on down the road, and you find out 2 meetings afterwards is not a good fit.
Exactly. 100%.
What do you think about this? I think you kind of roll it, but I put the dollar sign to it. Website ranking means money.
Yeah. So are you asking what's my interpretation of this, or how do I feel about it?
Yeah. How do you feel about that? And then, how can we really get to a better ranking for our services and websites?
Yeah. So, I mean, full disclosure, I sell websites. I sell website ranking. So yes, I know it's a great thing because I peddle it. There's obviously a passion behind what I do, so I don't really sell anything I don't believe in. So the reason I know that ranking well is money, profit, revenue, whatever you'd like to phrase that as, is because if you think about it, anything we need in life, service or product, what's probably within a foot of you right now, Swire, other than your computer, that you might use to find a resource, product, or service for yourself that you need? 100%. That nice little thing that all the kids are being born out of the womb with, a cell phone. So the reason I'm bringing up the cell phone is because it's always in our hands, and we are the Google nation. You know, Google that. I mean, that's just kind of what we term everything we do nowadays. So the reason I know it means making money is because if you can actually show up when people are asking these questions, and there's top of the funnel and there's bottom of the funnel questions. So let's just say if I'm looking for a dog groomer, just per se, I might look in to see, okay, just what shampoos are good for my dog. You know, I might just look up healthy, natural shampoos to help with dandruff for dogs. You know, I might type in these different keywords. I could find some websites that tell me answers to that, but let's just say that a local groomer pops up with that information saying, you know, some of the best shampoos for dogs with dandruff. I read the article, and then she talks about how you should shampoo twice, and you should do this, you know, 3 times a month. And then you need to do this. There's a special conditioner. Let's just say there's so many things in this article. I go, whew, I don't have time to do that. Well, now I'm on a website of a person who offers to do it, and they have a call to action that says interested in a free quote for your dog. Click here. So now I'm automatically offloading something I thought I might do myself onto someone else who I see offers it locally. And that's kind of one of the streams you can bring people in for, is even if it's top of the funnel type of blog post or service pages that you have on your website. And that could be they're maybe not sure they want to get a new roof yet. Maybe they're looking the differences between metal and shingle roofing. Now, that's a blog post that does not say, you know, buy now, here's exactly what you need to order, because they're not to the bottom of the funnel sales process just yet. They're doing that initial research. But again, because you're giving them that information and now they're on your website, you are seen as a trusted authority in the industry about that, because I'm reading everything you have to say about it. So when it comes time for me to say, you know what, I am interested in upgrading my roof, I'm going to actually call this company and have them tell me the differences between metal and shingle for my exact roofing size, specs, everything. You know, I've read their article. I feel trusted with them. I like how they approach it. So let's just have them come on and give me a free estimate because I like what they had to say about it. That is now someone who was not yet ready to buy, but is now using your company to make that purchase through, because you initially had the information that showed up on Google. And when they typed it into their phone, they were able to click and kind of go with you. So that's a huge portion of it. And also maps. So Google Maps that pop up with those 3 businesses usually. That is like the top ranking part of any Google search result page. So with that on our phones, we can just push that call button and call directly to that roofing company or that dog groomer. So because of that ease of access going through there, that's why it's a huge important part in any of the marketing sales, because it brings all the revenue in, because now clients are just at your fingertips because you're at their fingertips, if that makes sense. So really does make money, in my opinion. The way to rank, though, it's going to be another live session to give you all the answers for it. But I would like to give you like kind of my top tricks when it kind of comes down to it, to make sure at least you're doing these things for your business. So to rank well on Google, let's just focus on a local business for right now. So if you're a local business trying to rank better, there's quite a few things you can do. And what I like to really focus on is the fundamentals of organic rankings, because these are things you just need to hone in. A lot of times your competitors are not doing that. So if you can create a good base foundation, then everything you do marketing wise on top of this will really kind of help to build it up. So the first thing I mentioned with any client is you have to have a website. I prefer WordPress. That just means you own it. It's a free source platform, but other website platforms are great builders if that's what you need for right now. Just get that website, because what I'm focusing more on this website is everything it needs to have to make sure it's just conversion friendly. So with that, there's call to actions, there's testimonials, there's links to all of your service pages or products, whichever you provide. And there's maybe a blog, about us, everything that someone would need to make a decision. So again, Swire, back to your roofing client, let's just say that, your neighbor did use them, but you did not get a chance to talk to that neighbor before they left for a month-long vacation. But you could see the roof, it looked good, and you could find out that company, you went to their website. You probably would have looked over this website to find all the answers you were looking for if you would have asked your neighbor those questions. Okay, well, what services did they provide? How quickly were they able to get this roof up for you? What do they look like in comparison to their competitors? And do the owners care? Like, are they actually going to make sure that this is done well and does a good job? And everything on the website and your testimonials can really generate that. So you just want to make sure all of those are there because, again, everything marketing you're doing is going to bring them into this website. So if they get to the website and they don't have any information on there, then it's not going to be beneficial. So that's step 2 is looking into this website. So as I mentioned, we need products and service pages for every niche item service that we do. So if you are a roofer, maybe you do metal roofs, shingle roofs, you do residential, and you do commercial. Like all these different services need to have a separate page. And that page is actually what will rank within Google. So if you put good content, you optimize that content with each of those pages, that's actually what types up. So let's just say I was looking for metal roofing. Well, I'm actually going to type in that keyword, metal roofing. And Google knows, of course, because they're creepy, where we're sitting. I mean, knows exactly the pinpoint IP address I'm at. You can be incognito. I still think it's not perfectly, secure when it kind of comes to that because they always show up my IP address anyways nowadays. So when it comes to that, we're just going to make sure that if someone is looking up that metal roofing page, then it's that metal roofing service page that pops up that I'm going straight to. And so that's actually that filler page. So again, that's more maybe top funnel. They're getting to know more about you, but within those pages, that's where you're having those call to actions, testimonials, and pictures to kind of show more proof that you do a good job within those services. And those are kind of like the huge things when it comes to the website. So when you build on top of your website, it's just creating more content that's good. And now what I mean by good is it's not 500-word blog posts. Like you're creating at least 1,500-word posts, service pages, anything else to talk about your business, because it's those articles that are just about one keyword phrase or one topic in general. That's what's going to rank when anyone types in those type of variation of keywords into Google. So if you can actually have your website rank decently well in organic, then step number 3 is actually that's where you show up more in local. So the Google business profile is now they've renamed it, is where that kind of map pack area is, where it shows your business name, address, phone number. Click to go to the website, you can click to call, you can see the reviews. It's great. Now, that is based, number 1, on proximity. So what I mean by that is if you are not located in the city where you want to do business in, then it's going to be a very uphill battle for you to make sure you rank locally in that arena. So I am based in Louisville. If there is a client that is in Lexington, which is only about an hour's drive from here, about 50 miles, but they want to rank in Louisville, then the first thing I'm asking them is, will you have a corporate office or some type of office based here in Louisville that which we can make a Google business profile for to make sure you can actually show up in this city? And if they say no, then we have to talk about how much harder that's going to be. So that's kind of an important factor of that. Proximity is a big ranking factor. So let's make sure you're close to where you want to be. And that second ranking factor to show up more in the maps is actually what I just talked about. So how well your website is optimized with service pages, product pages, and blog content is what's going to help populate you into that Google business profile area. So it's kind of where I say those in that order because they kind of work together in that order as well. So you still need a great website. You still want to have a good Google My Business profile, but they do sync together as far as when one's doing well, the other is going to rank well with it. And so for the Google My Business, getting reviews and just making sure you're consistent with all of your information across the board, those what I would call the trifecta of the holistic foundation you would need for your website to kind of help get better rankings. And it's an ongoing process, but look at those 3 things right now of what you have marketing wise. And if those don't seem up to snuff, then you kind of have the baseline to start at, versus if you have a really good website, you have all these pages built out, you have a pretty good Google business profile with a lot of reviews, then you're in a good spot. After that, if you're just not ranking, it just means we need to create more and more content to show that you're relevant in what you want to be found for. So hopefully that's clear as mud, but that's kind of in a sense how the grand scheme of the Google algorithm works as easily as I can put it in words.
Yeah, that's a lot of good advice. Since we're on the topic of money, right? So this question that I wanted to find out, and seems like different people that I talk to, that different answer. The question is, how much money? And let's focus down a little bit, right? A small business, right? How much money should a small business spend on their marketing efforts? I read myself, from the Small Business Administration that they advise anywhere from 6 to 8% of your annual revenue should be spent on marketing. So in your line of work, if you were trying to guide a client for the marketing budget, what would you suggest them to look at, and what are some of the things to consider?
That's a really great question. And usually the range I kind of go with is just a little bit wider than that 6 to 8, is a 5 to 10%. And it really depends on how competitive your market's going to be, how new you are into the game as well. So let's just take HVAC clients, for example. Actually, let's go back to roofing. I like to keep it somewhat consistent. Roofing businesses will make, let's just say minimally $5,000 to $10,000 off a sale of a new roof. So that is a great profit margin for a one-time sales. Given it's a lot of work, there's a lot of materials, it's a longer sales process at times, but it's still a good profit margin for each job that they do. Because of that, there are a lot of roofing contractors in America. I mean, I feel like at this rate, we could throw a rock and hit one of these guys in a truck. That's how common these businesses are becoming, which is great because they're really good, lucrative businesses. And after the pandemic, I think we all realized those were the only ones 100% still in business the entire time, because they were absolutely necessary to make sure our roofs were intact and we were staying safe as possible in our own homes. So when it comes to that, you're going to need to spend closer to that 10% range. And that might seem like a huge amount for some clients. So, and I get that side of it, but we have to compare basically how much work we're going to have to do to overcome our competitors. So there is a local plumbing, HVAC, and mechanical, I think they just picked up roofing as well, to be honest with you, company here that's basically trying to become the complete home service company. They spend $1 million each year on marketing.
Wow.
That's as much as some of my clients might make in a year. So obviously you're not going to spend as much as them, but what we're seeing is they have to spend that much because, I mean, they're a little bit bigger company. So they do have, employee turnover. So they don't have always the best techs that are trained, and it's kind of hard for them to get repetitive clients because of some of those issues that they have. So they have to spend more. But that also shows you how competitive that environment is versus going back to when we were saying you should show pricing. You should show as much information on your websites as possible. There is a local, I would say, niche. It's a wedding rental chairs and tables, beautiful woodworked type of rentals that they offer. And so because there's not too many of them in our area, he was actually scared to put pricing of his products on the website when we built it 5 years ago. Fast forward just a year ago, he called me and I was thinking he needed, some more SEO. He needed us to do some more work. Well, really all it came down to was he had so much traffic from just spending, I think, like $6,000 4 years ago. So this is, again, different ends of the spectrum. He spent a very small amount so long ago that it was generating him the traffic marketing that he needed. Now what he wanted on his website was make sure every price was listed, and we had a wish list. So you could actually build a shopping cart on his website and you could price yourself out. So that way, when you call him, you know exactly what to expect, that it's not going to be maybe less than $2,000 versus he was getting a lot of tire kickers earlier on thinking they could get all these wedding rentals for $200. He's like, whoa, no, that's like 10% of what this actually cost. So it is very hard to say exactly what you need to be spending. But what I will say, just as the tip on this, most likely if you're talking to a national marketing company, if it's something under $1,000 to $1,500 a month, I can almost guarantee you're not going to get much out of it, only because when you spread that cost over everything they might say they'd be doing, website maintenance, SEO, blogging, Facebook, ads, any of those things, which is usually in a normal kind of cookie cutter package, you're getting so much little of it, it's really not going to make any difference for you. So if you are a roofing, HVAC, electrician, plumbing, paving, if you're in those big home services guys, then any of those plans will not be enough for you. Like, you're going to have to most likely spend over $2,000 a month on marketing to make sure you're getting a bigger impact for your area. Now, whether that's close to 5 or 10% of what your yearly revenue is, I'm not sure what that's going to be on, but that's kind of where it's more based on the competition value versus the percentage of what you want to spend, if that kind of helps answer your question.
Yeah, thank you so much for answering that. We actually have a question from my friend Vinny. Going back to the ranking, does social media helps increase a website's ranking? Or, if you do, I guess he wants to say, if you do too much of it, can it hurt your ranking?
Yeah, great question, Vincent. So, what I tell everybody is really social media will not help any of your website's ranking or SEO efforts. It could possibly hurt it, but usually it's more of the example we said earlier. If you're running a Facebook ad and you're sending a lot of people from Facebook to your website, however, they are bouncing because that page isn't good, or let's just say it's a landing page that is good, but they're not going to a thank you confirmation page after. So therefore they hit 2 pages of your website, then that could hurt just because that increases the bounce rate of your website. So that kind of isn't the best thing to do, but I haven't seen any of our clients ever do that. And they're running ads on social and Google. So again, it's just making sure conversion wise, you're not hurting yourself by doing that, but really it will never help. What I suggest more as well is just making sure that the two really bleed into one another. So any messaging that's on social needs to be the same as on the website and vice versa. And if you are posting on social, well, share links that are on the website. So therefore you can get people to come back into the website to go through the rest of the buying process. So if you share a blog post, bring them back to the website and make sure that blog post has a call to action to book, a testimonial on it, and different things like that would kind of help person go through the process if they are looking to get your product or service with you. So great question. It's really kind of not so much help, but it definitely not too hard of hurt when it kind of comes down to it. So they're really separate entities.
That's great. For listener, Brittany, who have individual questions that might want to ask you about, what would be the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah. So the best way, honestly, is if you would like to check out what you're doing and know if it's working or not, the easiest way to do is to go to our website, onethingmarketing.net, and there will be a big bright link at the very top and in the very center of our homepage that's to book a strategy session. And I'm the only person that does the strategy session. So if you did book on there, you're going straight to my calendar and you're just going to give me some info so I can audit your website, and we'll just have a brainstorming session on exactly what you need to do moving forward to make sure that you have the best marketing, SEO, digital game plan for your website. And if it works out, I'd love to work with you. But if not, this literally is a great way to just get some good education on what you should do when you are ready to invest in your marketing and have a good idea of what those next steps might look like for you.
Thank you so much for coming on today, Brittany. I learned a
Yeah,
lot today.
my pleasure.